Believe it or not, I tried a few times yesterday and I couldn't get it to go live. So welcome to my learning process here. I am traveling, so my setup here is very basic and I'm trying to learn how to do this. Today there should not be the camera shake that we saw yesterday. Let me see if I can find myself so that I can, let's see. Let me see if I can find the comments here. That way I can see if anybody decides to ask a question. Okay, it says I'm live. Why is it not coming up? Once I do get this figured out, we are going to paint the second layer of watercolor on here. I've got the foundation down there, and it has completely dried. Why am I on Etsy? Where's YouTube? There we go. All right, it looks like, there we go. Let me turn the sound off. I'm gonna get this, guys, I promise. Okay, I'm assuming the sound is off. Yep. All righty. It's just me watching. That's okay, because mistakes are about to be made and have been made. Drink a little coffee here. All right, if you hear any rumbling around, I am pet sitting an adorable lab shepherd mix. I'm trying to get this in there. I need to get something that holds this up higher to get my phone where it is to do the recording. I had to attach the arm to another table because when I attached it to this table, it shook. So it's separated, but it's also down too low. So tomorrow I will try to fix that. Let's see here. What do I want to do here? This needs to be a little bit redder and darker. Work on the eye. I tend to always, I'm going to mix some black. Would you like to watch how to mix black? Okay, for black, what I usually do is I'll take one of my blues, usually whichever one I have the most of. Now, I have a video on Skillshare and Patreon that shares how I make this palette and the colors I use. I use Winsor and Newton. I am not particular about the colors and the names. I just use several cool and at least 3 cool and warm blues. The green is from a tutorial class I took and they required we have that. I'm not fond of that. I think you get better greens mixing. And at least 3 reds that are in the cool and the warm. Same with the yellows. And then I have my 3 neutrals. I remember them. That's burnt umber, sepia, and burnt sienna. And then I also have a Winsor & Newton decorator. I can't remember the name of it. It's the white gouache from Winsor & Newton. Okay, so I've got one of my blues in there. I just use this ugly old rag because I can wash it rather than waste paper towels and trees. Okay, let's see. Am I in there? Yes. Okay. And I'm going to take a little of this red just because I have a lot of this one. And I'm going to mix me up a purple. I change it. I never mix enough black to do a whole painting because I like it to vary. You look at nature, the way the sun hits things, blacks can come out bluish, greenish, purplish, reddish, you name it. Okay, so I have that. Then I'm going to take, I think I'm going to take some sepia here. Sepia. Now, using sepia is going to give me, the ones I've chosen are going to give me kind of a dull black, but that's okay. That's what I'm looking for. Now, this is going to turn this brown, if I get enough of this in here. You ask, why do I dry my paints out? Well, I dry my paints out because I travel. Have you ever tried to take a bunch of tubes of watercolor paint through an airport? They frown upon it. And these days, they charge for every piece of luggage. So if it's a short trip, I don't want to carry the tubes with me. I just carry this, and this can go through security. Okay, I'm going to add a little more of one of my blues. It doesn't matter which one. And see how it's darkening that up? And that's pretty much what I want. Now, if you want it a little redder or browner or purpler or greener, you would mix for greener. You would mix in more of the neutrals, or for browner even, more of the neutrals. Red will give you more brown, and blue will give you this more bluish hue. But I vary it up. This is my favorite for the eyes. Now I'm just going to go over a small area here because I already have the foundation layer. How are you guys doing today? I am decided that I am determined to learn how to paint live on YouTube. I'm going to do this. Okay. Come over here. Next time I'm traveling, I need to bring some better lights. Not necessarily for y'all. I think it's coming through okay for y'all. But for me to see, these old eyes need a lot of light. Okay. Now, this painting, well, all my paintings go through what I call this. Let's see, we want down the center, there we go. All my paintings go through this ugly duckling phase. All watercolors do if you use layers rather than like the liquid watercolors that go on pretty dark to start. And you'll see me use my fingers a lot. I like to soften edges. I have a bit of a tremor in one of my hands, so works perfect with wildlife though, because they don't usually have hard edges in nature. Okay. I'm going to add just a little, because that's not really a true white. And I'll go back later and also add a little white gouache. Okay. Now I'm going to take some of my sepia. I think this one's Scarlet Lake. I'm horrible with the names. Sorry, guys. I promise I'll get better with time. When I'm painting just me, I tend to not pay a bit of attention to what I'm using to mix. It's just sort of instinct. Once you've mixed colors enough, it just works. Okay. We're going to go in the direction. See how this eye curves? Going in the direction here. Get a little bit right here. There are going to be eyelashes that go off there eventually. Okay. Let's see. Did I do that too low? Oh boy, let's go a little higher. A lot of people say watercolor is unforgiving. That is not true. Okay. Alrighty here. Let's see, we've got there that curves in. I'm not sure I like where that is. That one goes there. Then I've got here. I went over a little far. It's okay. Now, I want to soften this up a bit because this looks a bit harsh at the moment. It won't when we're done. So you gotta, once you've done this enough, you learn how the layers work and how the color affects each other. So I just recommend practicing. So that's the only thing I know that makes you better. Okay, we have this little guy here, but his ear should be, let's come down a little over further. He should have an ear there. There's short hairs here. And this is not going to look like fur at the moment, but we're going to paint in that direction anyway. Because this is all going to lighten up. And as it lightens up, it will change the look of this painting. Let's see here. Am I still? I'm hoping I'm down in here. Alrighty. Now there's going to be white tip there. I like using gouache for fur. Yes, you can leave the white of the paper. I'm just in love with the texture of the gouache, and it's just my preference. There's neither way is right or wrong, unless you're a traditional watercolor artist, in which case you probably want to use the white of the paper. Let's see. Make sure I don't go too far here. There we go. Want to go out a little there. Let's get some water on the brush. I'm using Princeton brushes right now. That seems to be what I'm preferring at the moment. I go through phases. You're perfectly welcome to use. You can use any brush you have. I like the Princeton because it holds a little more water, a little more of the paint. And I don't have to go back quite as often. You can achieve the same thing with cheaper brushes, but you will have to go back more often to get paint on the brush. Let's see here. I probably need a bigger brush for this spot right here, but I'm going to stick with what I've got. I'm using, what am I using? A 000 Just use what's comfortable. If you're doing a bigger painting, you'll need a bigger brush. Let's see, for this part, I do want it smoother, so. Okay, this will eventually have shadows to define this out. I want all this to just kind of mesh together. These are the bottom layers of the painting. So, all right, probably shouldn't have any green right there, huh? Not if it's the bottom of an ear. There we go. And I'm going to add a touch of my black to my, what is it, sepia. And kind of define this a little bit. I don't like using straight lines when I paint. You notice I use these short wispy things. Let's see. There we go. Get some. Animals rarely have straight lines on them. You know, you might get one of the rare ones that do. But, I mean, even penguins that look like, when you look at them, that they have straight lines, they don't, because they actually have fur. They just have the illusion of straight lines. Okay. Alrighty, how we looking? Like I said, I'm learning how to paint, to work YouTube, and I am giving myself till the first of the year to learn, to practice. And I'll be popping on just impromptu live streams while I learn how to do this. And by the first of the year, sometime maybe the first or second week of January, I am going to start painting live on a regular schedule. So if you're watching this, be sure to comment on your preferred times that you like to paint. And you're welcome to pop on with me. Now, you don't have to paint the same thing I'm painting. The process is the same for whatever interests you. You might want to paint a car or a motorcycle, a house, a dog. But we can still paint, and if you want to ask questions or need help with something, I'm always here. Okay. We're going to let all that dry. Like I said, this is just the second layer. There's going to be a lot of layers that go into this. Pull out some different browns here. The reference photo that I'm using, I can't show you because of the copyright on it, but you can see my artwork from it. The reference photo came from the Facebook group entitled, what is that group called? It's called Free Reference Photos for Artists on Facebook. And one of their requirements is you're allowed to use any of the photos or reference photos for painting or any kind of artwork, I should say. But you can't show the original without the photographer's consent. I believe the photographer for this one was Linda McMillan. And if you do a little search for deer, you will find it. Let's see. We want right in here at the bottom of the nose should come a little. Now always keep your strokes in the direction of the fur, even though here in the beginning it's not fur. It's more just getting layers and color built up. But by going in the direction, any lines that appear will fall in place with the fur when you start painting it in. Now, if you want actual classes rather than just a demonstration, I do teach on Skillshare. The classes there's a variety of things. Some of them are older classes that I've done. Some of them are newer. I also teach on Skillshare. I think I have a few painting classes on Skillshare. I know I've got classes on how to make products from your art on Skillshare. Let's see, do I want that? No, I don't. Let's grab, where's my little brush, my little rigger? Need to get me this is a cheaper one. I need to get a rigger that's made by Princeton or one of the better brushes companies, because they do hold more water and more paint. I'm just mixing in some shades here. It's coming out a lot darker than I'm actually going to put on here. But let's see, that's going to go that way. I am just wanting to get a little texture in here for the underside. Let's see here. I'm going to scoot this up here. Can you see me? Am I too low? There we go. I am left-handed, so that does sometimes pose a little problem in getting things done here. Let's see. Believe it or not, when this is done, this will give the illusion of fur after quite a few layers. Throw in a little darker, vary it up. I never mix as much paint as I need for the painting because I like to vary things. You'll hear me say that a lot. Just makes it look more realistic. And we're given the illusion of realism more than we are actual realism. Okay, that will eventually don't want a hard line there. I'll soften some of that up with gouache later. I always use a little white gouache in my fur. I like the texture it provides. Sometimes I'll use If texture's not what I'm going for, I'll use white watercolor. But I usually go for gouache. Okay, I do clean these paints up after I'm done with the picture. I just run a baby wipe across them. Just make sure you get a baby wipe that doesn't have all the lotion in it. Okay, there will eventually be fur there for all that. There. Down over here. I'm gonna go a little more yellow. I'll redden it up later. Let's see. We have a line that goes from there. And I like the reason why I'm using a rigger instead of a larger brush is I like the look of this. These lines do not look intentional. I do not like intentional looking lines. Just my preference. Okay. We will let that dry. Let's see. I am going to start laying in some of the lines on the bark here. And they're not exactly as my reference photo. This is, like I said, to give the illusion. Now down in here will be pretty dark when I'm done. But I'm following just the basic pattern of the bark so that I'm accurate with the branch, the species of the tree, because each species has its own type of bark. But I don't need to be so accurate that I'm copying the picture exactly, the reference photo exactly. I just need to make sure that when somebody who knows what they're talking about, like a naturalist, can determine exactly what it is I'm painting. Okay, can you see that? Am I in the right spot for this? Yes. Okay, I am going to just basically go over some of these darks that I did here. Get them darker. We are just getting color down. This is just layer number 2. You'll notice I'll do a lot of layers. It's what gives the illusion of realism. Adding those layers in. Takes longer, but it pays off. It's very rewarding. Okay. Alrighty. Well. All right. I'm going to let all this dry. And I'll probably pop on later this evening or later this afternoon and work on the background a little bit. I've got some splatters, that's okay. Just blend them into the background. All right. Okay. Like I said, this is in its ugly duckling stage. That's okay. It'll stay this way until it's about 75% finished. And then we'll put a water wash over the whole thing. and it will make way for the details. And once the details come through, it'll just start shining. You'll like it. Anyhow, reference photo is from the group, Facebook group, Wildlife, Free Reference Photos for Artists on Facebook. I believe you have to ask to join. It's an excellent group. A lot of photographers put images, wildlife images, all kinds of images on there. Just search for deer and the wonderful photographer Linda McMillan, and you should be able to find the reference photo for this. I have changed the composition of it, but other than that, it's still right there. So go look it up if you want to paint this one. If not, that's fine too. Just watch and join. I'll talk to you later. Bye.